For the attention I know you're going to give us. We're going to have about 45 minutes here to talk about some of the issues, and we'll begin. We'll have opening statements from each of the candidates. We will. I'll ask questions. We're not going to run a clock on the answers. We'll just try to keep the answers as tight as possible. If there needs to be more discussion, each candidate will have a chance to respond. If it needs to be something beyond that, we'll continue talking about it. We find that tends to shed more light on a subject than just running a stopwatch. So we want to begin. I'll introduce you to the candidates. We have from the Nationalist Party, the town of King in Dirigo, is Shane O'Connell of Winslow. From the Federalist Party, from the Dirigo town of Lincoln, it's Evan Eklund of Falmouth. We had a coin toss before we came out to see who would make the first opening statement, and we'll begin with Evan Eklund from the Federalist Party.
Okay, so we had this is our second gubernatorial debate. I know I've spoken to half of you for a lot of time, spent a lot of time on stage, a lot of hot air has been passed around, but you know where I stand. Increased education, both vocational schools, strong regulation of welfare, fair regulation, exploitation of the environment, along with regulation of exploitation. Across the board, fairness. That's what we need. We need cross-the-aisle politics, because in today's climate, polarization's everywhere. People don't want to shake hands. They don't want to meet new people. They don't want to They don't want to see opinions. They don't want to give in to what they believe is wrong. But at the end of the day, it's the betterment of society. It's the betterment of the state of Dirigo. It's the betterment of the United States of America. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane O'Connell. I just want to say the Nationalist Party and I are primarily a party of lowering taxes and creating jobs in the state of Dirigo. We want to go about doing this by decreasing regulation on business, lowering all forms of taxes, and making the state more business friendly. Thank you.
I'm going to start with a couple of questions about elections themselves, because it is sort of a hot button issue. In the state of Maine, since 1973, we've had same-day voter registration. This time around, there's an effort, a bill was passed to repeal that. Some say that is an effort to suppress voting by students who tend to vote Democratic. In the state of Dirigo, would you support same-day voter registration, or is that opening up the process to some sort of fraud?
Well, Mr. Callahan, I think by same-day registration you mean primarily independents. They're not sure until the last moment who they're going to vote for. The Nationalist Party and I feel that people can vote for who they want. While it's probably a good idea to know ahead of time, I think, once again, freedom of speech, First Amendment, if you don't know who you're going to vote for, someone convinces you at the last minute, you're really set on that, go with your gut and vote for who you feel is the best candidate.
The idea is, should you have to register to vote 6 months before the election, or up until that same day, which is a process that has worked in many states across the country?
Same-day registration really isn't the problem. I think the Federalists would agree on that also. Some people are either unaware or they're undecided, and so same-day registration allows more people to get to the polls and exercise their right to vote.
I am in favor of same-day registration because, you know, a lot of the times there are people that follow politics, there are people that don't follow politics, and there are people that don't really care. And so same-day registration does allow for people that don't care and people that don't follow politics to have a crash course. We've all crammed for an exam. And so that day, instead of being influenced by one party, so say I registered for the Federalist Party for 6 months before the actual election, for 6 months I'd be hearing nothing but Federalists, and that's not compromise. That's not, hearing the other side and learning about more than just one perspective. And so same-day registration not only allows for learning both sides, but it allows for an educated decision in who you vote for. Thank you.
Let me know how you feel about clean election laws. That is, state funding for candidates for the legislature and for governor so that the theory being they don't have to be beholden to special interests by raising outside money. Each candidate gets an equal amount of money to spend. It comes from taxpayers. How do you feel about the idea of clean election money?
Personally, I'm all for it. You see that on a national scale. I'm sorry, on a state scale, you see clean elections nationally. Recently, there's been the decision by the Supreme Court to allow corporations to have the same rights as an individual, and I don't think that's a healthy decision because a corporation having a $1 billion market capitalization versus an individual that makes hopefully above the minimum wage, and so it opens up for some dirty politics if you have Hasbro, the toy company, going versus Shane, the individual. And so it is clean politics does lend to clean debate, leading to clean decisions, and I'm all for it.
Let me ask how you feel about clean election money and whether your state can afford it.
The Nationalist Party and I are aiming to lower taxes. I feel that clean election money would be draining. We're already in debt. That's not what we need right now. And as the Secretary of State said earlier today, he went to 5,000 doors and knocked on. You can win elections without having a lot of money. That being said, I also feel like maybe if we want to compromise, a little bit of money can be put into the system, but for the most part we want to lower taxes, so we don't want to support something like this as the Nationalist Party.
Given that this is a two-person race, but in many races for governor or for other seats, you have multiple candidates, third parties, fourth parties, all sorts of independents. In the state of Maine, rarely do you get a governor that gets a majority vote, over 50%. You get elected by a plurality. So if you get the most votes out of 4 or 5 candidates, that may be only 35%. What do you think of the idea of ranked choice voting, which essentially lets people express their second choice? So if no one gets over 50% at the beginning, you drop the lowest candidate, you add in now votes for somebody else. Ultimately, you're going to end up with somebody supported by 50+% of the electorate. How do you feel about that idea?
This system of voting does require more time and maybe more tax dollars, but overall I think it's probably a good idea because there have been unpopular governors who did not have the popular vote, and this will ensure that more of the people's choices are heard as long as it's well regulated. Something like this has a lot of potential for fraud if people are wishy-washy about their second choices or if they're crossing out ballots and rewriting them. So that's my only concern. When you have one ballot, one choice, that makes it really easy. There's less money involved. But first choice, second choice elections do give the chance for popular governors to be in office.
Personally, I believe that single choice votes is probably the best way to do it, solely because you don't want to have repeats of what happened during the Bush elections where they had to do recount after recount to make sure that the actual vote was legitimate, and then you have some unhappy citizens at the end of the day who think that the vote is still unfair, and that no matter how many recounts, there's still some gray area in who was chosen.
But do you feel, is it important to have a governor elected by 50+%?
No, I don't. This does lend to some unpopular, I guess, decision, unpopular support by the overall population of the people. But it's not. Leading up to the election, you promise some things. You have a platform, but it's not what you do. You can't do anything leading up. It's what you do post-election and how you act and how you carry yourself post-election. That's what I believe in.
Shane, you had something you wanted to add?
Oh yes, the Nationalist Party and I feel that you can prevent something like the 2000 election from happening again by having the system of voting. Al Gore won the Electoral College, George W. Bush won he actually did not win the popular vote even though he won the election, so this method of voting would prevent that from happening. Al Gore would have been president. I'm not sure how people feel about that, but at least it would have been more representative of the people's choice.